8. Old Babylon. The culmination. Approximately 1900 to 1600 BCE. Wonderful, mystical Assyrian Babylon. And so, finally, we arrive at Babylon, the most famous, the most notorious, the most splendid, the most excoriated, the most admired, the most vilified city of antiquity, and the most persistent in European memory. She derives her name from a Greek version of an Akkadian version of some earlier original designation. Akkadians rationalized it by taking it to mean Bab-ilu, the gate of God. Genesis claims it derives from a Hebrew root, balal, meaning to mix up, referring to the confusion of tongues by which the hubris of Babel's tower builders was punished. She owes her location to its strong strategic position, close to the center of the Mesopotamian plain, near to where Euphrates and Tigris approach each other most closely, today some 500 kilometers from the head of the Gulf. She can blame her evil repute squarely on the Bible, with its account of the Judeans' Babylonian exile. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept, when we remembered Zion. And of St. John's vision in the book of Revelation, of the woman, arrayed in purple and scarlet colour, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Yet at the same time, the ancient city's name has borne far more positive associations among both adults and children, who even in our own times still used sometimes to sing, How many miles to Babylon? 70. Will I get there by candlelight? Yes, and back again. If your heels be nimble and light, you'll get there by candlelight. Nobody seems to know the origin or meaning of that children's rhyme, once associated with a street game of some kind, and appearing to refer to the average human lifespan, 70 years and 10, as well as to the spirit of life itself, represented as a flickering candle lighting the way. Nobody is even sure that the verse always named Babylon. Once upon a time it may have specified Bethlehem or some other similar-sounding place. Yet by our own day the version with Babylon has long overcome all competition, and still regularly appears in the titles of novels, plays, films, and even songs. The English-speaking world's greatest experts on children's songs and games, Iona and Peter Opie, concluded that most nursery rhymes were not first sung by children, but are the vestigial remains of once popular ballads and folk songs, of forgotten street cries and passion plays, of long outdated prayers and proverbs. Somehow Babylon, the name of the ancient world's greatest city, though vanished from the surface of the earth these 2 millennia, has stuck in the popular imagination long enough to be still invoked by children playing in 20th century streets. The imperial centres of ancient Egypt or Assyria are familiar only to those tutored in their history. Most places known to Jews and Christians from the Bible, Jerusalem, Shechem, Bethlehem, Nazareth, derive their fame from far later times. Jericho may be one of the oldest inhabited urban centres of all, but is associated in popular culture only with Joshua's sonic demolition of its walls. Joshua fit the Battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. Babylon, on the other hand, is still readily remembered for its pagan greatness, particularly in England, and even more particularly in London. Already in the 12th century, education of paramount importance. Indeed, it was central to Babylonian civilization. No longer institutionalized in large and carefully regulated state-run academies, like those established in Ur 3 times by King Shulgi, but privatized, like everything else in the new Babylonia, the education system nonetheless bequeathed us a huge legacy of documentary evidence, a small mountain of discarded written exercises and test pieces. As a result, we know more about what school days were like than many other aspects of life in ancient Babylon.